Alright, welcome back everyone to the One Ring Strider mode. Before we jump back into it, there's a couple things I gotta do housekeeping wise. So I looked over sort of my current setup, and one thing I noticed was your base fellowship is 3 plus any bonuses received from your patron, or I guess from anything. But so ours, because Kieran is our patron, 3 plus 1 should have been 4, and they do reset in between sessions. And I think I had it backwards. I think I said in the last episode something about using hope to recover fellowship points, and indeed, it is the opposite. So, the more fellowship points, the better, because our hope is 9 of 13 currently. We have a shadow point as well, but you can use your fellowship points to recover hope. And, our hope being completely diminished or equaling our shadow points is what makes you, what is that, miserable? Yeah. Which is not what you want to do. I mean, I think miserable is any Eye of Sauron that shows up is like a failure outright. Doesn't matter what the TN is, the target number. So yeah, we're gonna bring our fellowship points up to the correct score. And I think well, maybe not yet, actually. We got 9 left. Let's see what happens. And also because we have that Strider feature that allows us to use hope to essentially double what an inspired roll would typically get us. That being 2 extra success dice as opposed to 1. Also, one thing that I noticed is we haven't really been using the Valor or Wisdom, and we should have been. So for this Shadow Scar, which I feel like I received, let's see here, lower table, solo journey events. Yeah, so there's like despair and ill choices. I think I rolled on one of these. I can't remember which. But the consequences for failing the roll is you gain shadow points. It must have been ill choices because we would have received 2 for this. But yeah, so we have an ability whenever you receive shadow points from anything other than misdeeds, and in this case, dread, we have the ability to attempt to resist it with a shadow test. Where for dread, sorry if you can't see this, for dread, we would use our Valor, which is a heart target number. So we would, I think, what is it? You get a success die for each point you have in here, so a fate die and 1 success die for us, and let's say we would have rolled that. We're going to keep the shadow point because I should have done my research, but yeah, let's say we would have rolled that shadow test to see if we could resist, and we would have failed because our heart TN is a 13. Damn, yeah, so is it? We have a very, very small chance of resisting. Yeah, 7. Okay, so yeah, we would have received it probably anyways. So we're good on that. So that's what I wanted to go over for shadow tests. Actually, you know what? Because we're a barding, I wrote this down too. Because we're a barding, we have stout-hearted. And that is Valor rolls are favored. So we actually would have rolled 2 of those. And that would have been a 6 and a 9. still would have received that shadow, but good to know that those are favored. And the other thing that I didn't do, I did all my starting gear. Let me move this. So I did all of my starting gear, but what I didn't do was receive any useful items. And I would have received, or I would have been able to choose, create, receive, whatever you want to call it, 3 of them because of our standard of living, which is prosperous. Why did I write? I gotta move that down at some point. I'm gonna do it right now, actually. Shipwright's foresight. Awesome. Let me remove that. I wrote it on the wrong line, and now that I know that, it's gonna drive me crazy. Okay. Alright. Cool. So we got that sorted out. We need to come up with 3 items. And so this was actually something I noticed while I was watching a TST Gaming, that original Strider mode campaign. And I noticed that they had said we receive a favored role because of our map. And it was like, okay, how's that a thing? And then I looked into it, and that's from unuseful items. So we need to come up with 3 of them. Hunting. What could we have carried with us? I think one thing I'm going to do, and I saw it listed in here, is definitely bring a coil of rope. And we'll say that's athletics. I gotta just write that on the bottom. Let's keep it neat. Keep it neat and tidy. So that's athletics. And I don't know if it's favored or if it's like you can gain an extra like success die, or if you want it to be favored. I think for this, maybe it's just an extra success die on a athletics check in which a coil of rope would actually assist us. Let's see, there's healing. I feel like because we travel so much, I was kind of thinking, well, wait, I was going to say for healing, one of my ideas was that we have like a ledger with us, or like some sort of journal. A ledger would make sense, where we're keeping track of areas in which we've been able to find like medicinal herbs like Ethelis and stuff like that per region. So maybe, but I don't know that would be, maybe that would be a scan. Or would it be a hunting? What makes the most sense? Like a healing would be administering, so probably not a healing. Maybe a scan? I would say maybe a scan or an explore. Yeah, maybe it isn't a ledger for like healing herbs and stuff. Maybe it's more of like a landmark guide. Yeah, we'll say like a detailed landmark guide. And we'll use that as an explorer. And I would say that one would probably be favored. But it needs to make sense that you're using it that way. Alright, last one. What do we want to add? There's the travel roll, that's the map. The map is like, seems pretty damn good. And we have been on our own so long. I feel like, is it too cheaty? It's not cheaty. Well, that's what a map is for. Yeah, we're gonna do the map. Maybe we'll do travel map of area door. That way, if we do get across the mountains to the east, it won't really be much of an assist for us. I just want to do a plus. I don't want it to be favored. We'll do an extra success die there. Okay. I think that is it for my housekeeping. Set that here. Get a drink. Alright. Where were we? Oh yeah, I need to. So I'm going... Let's see here. I'm going to kind of separate this into two halves. So this will be first leg, second leg. Okay. And here I'm going to map out how many hexes it'll take us to get from Anuminas to kind of where I said we were going to be, sort of this upper rim of the Hills of Evendim. So give me 1 second. I'm going to count these, and we'll get back to it. Okay. So I think I got it mapped out. This will be a... I'm just going to keep track of everything kind of right here. Just similar line. Mark all of these. Okay, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 days. That I think we've used. No, I think I would imagine that would reset. Okay. So our fatigue, has our fatigue reset? That is what I want to know. Really, really quick. I wonder if it's in here. No, that goes to combat pretty quickly. Just want to look at the index real quick. And 111. Endurance. Okay. Fatigue. Traveling causes the player heroes to accumulate fatigue points, representing a form of exhaustion caused by protracted loss of sleep and the general discomfort of spending days in the open. Fatigue enters play exclusively in conjunction with the rules for journeys. When gained, fatigue points temporarily raise a traveling party Traveling player hero's total load, effectively making it easier to become weary. And then 111. Ending the journey. Yeah. So it has to be the end of a journey. We're not at the end yet. So no fatigue reduction for us. Okay. Alright, where were we? Let's get this up here. So we've got, kind of how I have it set up, we've got Anuminos here, and we're going to head 2 days into the hills and then sort of follow this, like, eastern part of it up for a couple days, and then we'll head northwest from there to get to the village. Or where we think, well, we would know. We would know where there's a village. We've got a travel map, so I'm going to say we get on it. All right. So we've got our journey path set out. It's time to make our marching test with a travel roll. Get these bad boys out of here. Our travel gets two success die. We got to beat a 13. And I would say we can use our map. Let's go ahead and roll. Right, plus 1d6. Cool. So we get an extra. We've got a 9, 12, 10. Okay, yeah, we crushed it. All right. No extra successes. So the event takes place at the 3rd hex. So we're going to move into the hills and start to curve to the northeast, and here we've got our first event. All right, time to roll. Just see what our event is. Solo journey events. All right. So before I do this, what do we have? We can use a fellowship point to re-roll any one roll thanks to Kieran's fellowship bonus that we get, or his ability he's lent us. And this is not... Oh, wait. Yeah, okay. Another thing that we need to remember. Within a borderland, this is technically a dark land. So, when we determine the event, it's ill-favored. Bummer. Alright, so let's go ahead. Oh, damn. This is determining the event right here. So we'll roll 1. Oh, well, we won't be taking that. Or wait, we just need to roll a feat die. Damn. Okay, we're taking the lesser of that. Regain a hope. That would have been cool. Alright. Oh my god, literally the Eye of Sauron. So, polar ends there. That sucks. Terrible misfortune. The roll fails, you are wounded? Oh, shit. Okay. Okay, let's roll a... Actually, I'm using a fellowship point. That is gnarly. That's gnarly. And you get them back every session. That's crazy. We're not gonna... So we've got 3... Actually, we're gonna re-roll that. That was a little too metal for me. That's a 6. And a 1. I mean, not much better. But Let's see here. Okay, so not a terrible misfortune, but despair. Ooh. Okay, here's potentially a chance for us to do a shadow test if we fail this roll. So let's roll a d6 and figure out what it's going to be. A 4. So, what do we got here? Our first event is despair. And it was what again? Fading vigor. Hunting to gain sustenance. Okay. Fading vigor. Alright, so we gotta roll a hunting test. Which we get 2 dice on. Okay. 2 dice on that. I really don't want... I think I'm gonna use a point of hope to gain 2 more dice, because I really do not want to gain 2 more points of dread. There's a chance we could still fail, but that's alright. If our roll... Okay, we're not... Here we go. Let's go. We got plenty of dice here. Okay, so we got a success. We got an 8. That's a 14, 18, 21, 26. Okay, we crushed it. That would have been... We needed to beat a 13. So... And we got a special success, so we can spend one of those points in a way to probably build an advantage. Let me see. So we did get a success. Let me mark that down. Alright. Alright, we got our success. How would this manifest? Yeah, maybe like 3 days into the trek through the hills, Varen's run through what he could scrounge around the campsite in Anuminas, and the hills they're barren. He hasn't seen anything smaller than like rodents and, you know, avian creatures that are flying way too high for him to do anything about. And, you know, 3 days in, the hunger pangs are kicking, and he's, you know, grabbing his stomach and trying to keep the pain subsided. But he does stumble upon, it looks like maybe a fresh kill, like some sort of, like, I don't know, like a fox, or maybe maybe it's even like a deer. Oh yeah, that's what we'll say. So it's a fresh kill from some sort of predator, but it's a deer, and there's not a whole lot left on it. And the parts that he can take from it, it's a very small amount due to, you know, other carrion, what's the word I'm thinking of, like creatures that prey on carrion or scavengers. What's left of what hasn't been scavengers is pretty meager, and also there's a little bit of rot sort of around the attack marks, like the wounds. So he's not able to get a whole lot, but he is able to at least give himself a bit of sustenance. And in the process, I want to... Where's our special success? Well, helping a sick individual. Discover traits of potion. Okay. Build advantage. So we can do some of these. Widen our influence. I don't think that really... Gain insight. Okay, I'm going to use it to gain insight. Actually, yeah, I'm going to use it to gain insight. This is a little more narrative than it is beneficial. I could just add a bonus to another hunting roll at some point. But I think I want to do maybe a little more of a narrative approach. So I'm going to say as he's gathering like kindling for his fire, Varen spots on like so it would be as the hills slope down to his east. He notices that on the lower part of the decline that some of the trees have been sort of freshly cut down. He can tell there's still a little bit of life left to what's exposed of the trunk. And it kind of seems that it sort of goes this way in the direction that he's heading along the eastern rim of the hills. And I would say this would be a pretty good indication that he's getting closer. Little inspiring, he's got days ahead of him, but he's on the right track. We can say that. And that this group of people that he's attempting to make contact with seem proficient at what he would like to offer them, a job doing. So he is going to camp for the night, try to stay warm. So where he's at on like the eastern slope, does get whipped by the wind pretty hard, but he's able to stay warm for the night. And the silver lining of the hills being quite barren is no wandering predators or anything like that. So he's able to make it through the night, and I think he's going to be ready to head off the next day. So he wakes up bright and early. Would have been spring. It's getting warmer, but there's like a slight. How do I want to figure out the weather? Maybe we'll say a 1 through 2, sunny, clear skies. 3 through 4, 3 and 4 is overcast, and 5 and 6 is rainy. We'll say that. 3 through 4, it's overcast. Gets like a glimpse of sun as the day goes by. And yeah, we're going to head out. We're going to roll a travel roll. So make sure we grab our extra success die from our map. The map feels kind of cheaty, but that would make sense, right? I think I'm like thinking about this too much like a game, where it's like, yeah, someone traveling into the hills where they don't usually go. If there's a map available, they're gonna have a damn map. Okay, let's do it. We gotta beat a 13. We got a 6. It's a 10. There's a 13 right off the bat. There's 16. Cool. No special successes. Let's roll our feat die to see what our event's going to be. Okay. Alright. Oh my god. Eye of Sauron. So you roll it. I gotta do it. I gotta use another one. We cannot take... We're screwed once we run out of fellowship. And we are not regaining hope, apparently. So a 5, we gotta roll it twice, take the lower. Oop. That's a Gandalf rune. So that would be a 5, which is a mishap. Okay, what do we got here? The mishap table is right here. We'll roll to see what we get. A 4, elusive quarry. Of course, it's a hunting roll. Okay, so hunting. What happens if we... Oh, wait. I didn't give myself fatigue points there on that last one. So I'm at 9. Ooh, okay. Shoot. Yo, we're at 23 of 25 for our endurance versus load and fatigue. So, yeah, this is going to put us... Oh, boy. Okay. This is going to make us weary, I think. Wait, we only need one of those. It's a hunting roll. Oh, yeah, no, we gotta use another point of hope to add some success die onto this. Hunting 2. So let's add 2 more to that. We gotta do it because we can't get that excess fatigue. I mean, we're going to be weary either way, but I just don't want to dip into the negatives. Keep it at 0, I guess. Okay. So Gandalf rune, which is a success. Let's see. How did that... There was something about... There was something about favored and ill-favored rolls. Correct action resolution. Was that only on action? Yeah, it was. Okay. Target number. Okay, there we go. Well, yeah, we passed the flying colors and a special success. So, mishap. Wait, that would have been what? 3 days in? Boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, another one. We got a mishap. And it is elusive quarry. All right. It's got elusive quarry. Let's see here. And it was a success. Awesome. And we did get a special success. So that's nice. Task in a short time, build advantage. Yeah, we're gonna build advantage. And we're gonna do a... Let's see here. Yeah, we'll do another hunting, I guess. Okay. There we go. We'll build our advantage. Success. So yeah, Varen being sort of desperate in this environment is able to... What are we going to say here? He's got a spear and a bow. Yeah, I'm going to say that there's like, maybe like a running stream or something coming down from the hills, and there's like a horned sheep or goat, like a mountain goat or something, taking time and drinking from the stream. And Varen is able to sneak up. He's been tracking this mountain goat for quite some time. And he's able to sneak up behind some brush. He takes a step forward. The brush sort of like cracks and crinkles underneath his boot, and the mountain goat looks up. He's able to loose his arrow in time, and it hits it, and tumbles down the hill a ways, but he's able to track it and safely navigate down the hill. And yeah, elusive, but he's able to eat for the night and to stash some food for the coming journey. So, unfortunately, that is still 2 fatigue points. Bummer. That's alright. We are officially... we're officially weary. Okay, so we've got... That's an 11. Alright. Yeah, we're weary. So, as I said before, weary means that... Where is it? All of these that have the sort of like outline or like the empty, they're not filled, like the 4 or the 5 or the 6. These do not count. They count as 0. So, kind of a nightmare for the rest of this journey. But we're going to continue on. We've got hope. We've got fellowship points we could spend on redoing a roll. Joyful sight. That's what we need. We need a damn joyful sight. Okay. Where are we at here? So we've got 3 days left. And if we make it, if we succeed on this travel roll, I'm not going to use... No, I have to use a point. Yeah, that's insane. I have to use a point of hope. Because we're working with half of our numbers now. So, yeah, I'm going to mark us down to 6 here. 6 of 13. Ooh. So technically, we've got 1 shadow scar. Oh god, okay. So we can lose 5 more hope. Damn, okay, so we got a travel roll. We're going to be inspired on that. So I'm going to add 2 more success die and hope that they are not 1s, 2s, and 3s. Wow, we got fucking lucky on that. That's 10, that's a 19, that's a 6. Ooh. Special success on that. Wow. Yeah, so when do the special successes come into play? Skill, special success. Yeah, that was a skill. So I'm going to say we get I'm going to just change this to a travel roll, which will be really nice. Although we are at our journey's conclusion here. But the nice thing is when you make it to your destination, you don't have a journey event. So we got there completely even for our endurance, our current endurance load and fatigue. Weary, but we made it. So Varen crests over the hill, and he's able to sort of see as it's on the northern point of the Hills of Evendim, they start to kind of taper towards the plains below. I guess not plains, but like the lands below as it flattens out. But sort of on that slope, looking above it, there's a collection of like small houses, like made of logs. They're humble, but they do have to the side of their like little encampment village, they have a pretty small but currently running lumber milling area. And this bodes as a very good sign for Baron, having come here on the behalf of Círdan and Galdor to make a trade agreement with these people in order to be able to bring the hardwood from this area to Mythland in order to continue to build ships. So yeah, Baron has made it. I think we're going to do the council phase on our next episode. So I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry if I rambled about my inner thoughts about how things would work, and especially with the useful items. But I'm trying to look at this less as like a game and more like I'm following this person, this real person on their journey. So, work in progress. It's getting more fluid, and I'm starting to remember sort of like the little small mechanics that apparently make a huge difference. Us being weary now is nuts. So, yeah, thanks for watching, y'all. I will see you next time for the council. All right, take it easy. Bye.